Hey guys, good morning to everybody. Greetings and salutations. This is gonna be, I guess I'll get into the topic in a minute. I want to catch up for a second first and see if anybody shows up. I'm kind of being quiet because it's been a rough night. So, Sammy, my vivacious, adorable, precocious pit bully, has been in misery because our little girl, Chaiwini, is in heat, and that's making things very uncomfortable for all three of us. And Sammy and I did not get much sleep last night. But if you're like me, then that's nothing new. A lot of us have had a hard time sleeping for our whole lives, and this time of year especially. And over the last several years as well. So I'm going to highlight something here so that I don't lose it. 32 to 45. And then I will get into the topic. But yes, we have not got much sleep. And did you know that there are people who don't fast from just food or electronics or the world? They actually fast from sleep as well. All right, let me highlight this real quick. Oh, why didn't you work? I want to be able to go right back to it as well. There we go. So what we're going to do today, this might be a treat for some folks who have not been exposed or read this book. Oh, and then it only did the one. I'm having a heck of a time here with the app. I'm sorry. We're going to read from a book that not everybody is familiar with, because during the Protestant Reformation, when they left the mother church, the original Universal Catholic Church, they did not take all the books with them. This is a point, this is a problem for a lot of people, and this is causing a lot of falling away because, and a lot of division. And again, that's purpose, that's purposeful, it's intentional. The enemy of God, you know, the kingdom of darkness, wants us all to be in ignorance and divided. And so it is my firm belief at this point that when the Protestant Reformation occurred and they left the original the original Catholic Church, they didn't take all the books. And if you don't take all the books, how are you preaching on everything, and how are you building doctrine? I remember I talked to a Southern Baptist that I was working with, a younger girl, and I said the word doctrine, and she was like, and catechism, and she's like, what's that? And I tried to explain to her what catechism and doctrine were, and she didn't understand. You see, if everybody doesn't agree on a thing or agree on a tenet, then you lose the glue that holds you together. And this is what Jordan Peterson has been trying to tell people, young people, that our Bible, oh, and I just forgot something. I have a gift for you. I got to add something else on this. Our Bible is what built our society. I was in a comment section yesterday, and comment sections are amazing places. They are founts of information. Let me see if I looked it up. I might have been on a different browser. There's a law. And I'm gonna have to look it up after this. I will do this part first, and then I will grab that if I can. So there's a law. There's actually a tenet. And it says that America is built on Christian principles, and it has a number and everything, a code. I found it under a video in the comment section of Joe Rogan, of all people, believe it or not. And I was like, oh my gosh, like they actually admit that like our society is built on that. And so the problem with that, our society being built on that, is right now they're trying to tear that apart. And what a lot of the younger people don't understand, and what a lot of people who just are too busy or not educated or not self-informed don't understand, is that this is an agenda, this anti-American agenda. You're seeing a lot of things right now coalesce. You're seeing a political agenda, a religious agenda, and a worldwide agenda, and they're all like careening together. And imagine like a crossroads, like a four-way, and you've got these different groups are all at the same intersection, and everything is going to either meld together or collide. And, you know, that could go a lot of different ways. Now, what I want to show you is the second book of Maccabees. There are some verses in there that point to something else, that point to something that people always argue with us about, but it's right here in scripture. And again, if you don't have the whole book, excuse me, my allergies are just a mess too from being around the little girl on both of them. And it's been really hard because, like I said, she's in heat and I'm not sleeping. So I do not mind. Let me also, before I bring up the second book of Maccabees, I have it pulled up for anyone that wants to join in. We're going to look at verses. This was a part, and I'll tell you where I got this from. Second Maccabees, verses 12:32 through 45. I got this from the Liturgy of the Hours today. I've started doing the Liturgy of the Hours. It's nothing that we are commanded to do. It's nothing that we're obligated to do. I started doing it because I need discipline in my life in a big way, and I need schedule. For a long time, I kind of eschewed, being run by the clock and all this, that, and the other. And I do believe time impartiality is a construct. However, God is orderly, and things run better when there's a certain routine or a rhythm to them. Think of music. Music is better with a rhythm, right? You just can't have all this chaos and the percussion between the percussions and the woodwinds. You need everybody to kind of harmonize together. So I've been doing the Liturgy of the Hours because I was seeking discipline and a new, deeper way to pray. And because I want to feel like a part of something too, because I don't get out a lot. Now, unfortunately, the church I went to, I was talking about this a little bit yesterday, the priest was actually pushing AI and AI sermons. He was saying how the sermon he did right then was not done by AI, but he understood how it could be done, and he's read some of them, and some of them are better than priests he knows, and we're getting further and further away from each other with all of this convenience and efficiency and alleged productivity. Anyways, we need to be more of a harmony. We need to have more harmony, about us. And so in an effort to do my part, as I've said, my life went into a tailspin, and I saw firsthand how that affected my family and my community. And so I do this to encourage others, like, look, every mistake that you make, every choice that you make, it doesn't just affect you. It affects your soul. It affects, your spirit, but it also affects your health and the health and spirit and well-being of those around you. And that pours out into the community. And so I wanted to start doing Liturgy of the Hours so that I would get into a set schedule again and have a routine of doing something, at the same time every day, because I don't work outside of the home right now. And I've always been one for physical discipline. I've always disciplined myself and kind of punished myself physically. I say that is the cradle Catholic in me. We don't eschew punishment for some reason. We are guilt-ridden oftentimes. But anyways, moving on. Great light, welcome. Oh, cat vibes. That's interesting. So moving on. That's why I started doing it. Now, a younger person mentioned yesterday, why do you want to be a slave to God? It's just for control. It's all about control. When you're a parent, you tend to understand that it's not all about control, though. That we need to have some type of order to us to have a functioning society. For us to have good lives, they have to be ordered in a certain type of way. When our thinking gets disordered, when our internal hierarchy gets disordered, when our egos get disordered, and we put ourselves at the center, then that spreads outward too. So I've been doing the Liturgy of the Hours, and it's really helped me to stay on time. It's disciplining me. I'm seeking that self-discipline again. And it's also keeping me from smoking. When I walk, when I bike, when I'm doing a video, I'm not smoking, right? When I'm praying, I'm obviously not smoking. And I need to have that breakthrough. God has helped me so much. My mother-in-law, she said something really hurtful. She said, the only reason people change is for themselves. I changed because I could not have quit drinking if it wasn't for God. I could not have quit doing, certain types of painkillers if it was not for God. And asking for that help that is outside of my own self. I agree with Mel Gibson, when he said that. So I just want to put out there that that's also another reason why I'm seeking this, strong self-discipline right now, is to try and have another, spiritual breakthrough and just, work on a few more of my bad habits. So in the Liturgy of the Hours today, there's a balance and an order to it. It starts in the Old Testament, and it starts with like you lamenting and crying out to God. And then the second part of the day, the responsorial Psalms, your response is you speaking the Psalms, and it is, God answering you, and the answer to that, it is going from the Old Testament into the New. It is going from dark into light. And it's also, there are different parts where you're asking God to bless every, part of this day, to bless all your works this day. So it's, I see people drop off and quit listening then, but how is that a bad thing? How is it a bad thing to pray for your community, to pray for your families, to pray in unison with others for those same things? Those aren't bad things. So today in that, one of the readings was 2 Maccabees 12:32 through 45. And again, if you don't have the whole book, you're missing so many blessings. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to read to you a quick summary of what the book of Maccabees is. Because if you've never heard of it, then you don't know what it is. And so just give me a second to read this to you guys. This is the AI overview. I just want to give you a quick idea of what I'm talking about today. 2 Maccabees is a Greek language religious book that summarizes a larger history of the Maccabean revolt, focusing on the persecution of Jews by King Antiochus IV, Epiphanes, and the subsequent rebellion. Key themes include religious martyrdom, with the story of Eleazar and the 7 brothers. 7 wives for 7 brothers? Is that where? Anyways, 7 brothers who refused to violate Jewish law, even under torture, and divine intervention in the form of miracles that aid the Jewish people. Now, again, we're at the beginning of the book. We're not in Revelation. This is the real Jewish people. The book is considered part of the biblical canon by Roman Catholic and Orthodox traditions. So it's not just Catholics. Orthodoxy has held on to and keeps these books as well. So some of the highlights of the second book of Maccabees, it says Antiochus IV decrees in an effort to force Hellenization, which is, think of like Thelema, like a New Age type of, again, they say New Age new, it's very old. Antiochus IV bans Jewish practices like observing the Sabbath and feasting, desecrates their temple, and requires Jews to violate their dietary laws. Oh, that's so mean. Remember, you always have a choice, especially about your own autonomy. There's always a choice. The world wants you to think you have no choice. Yes, it's going to be a hard choice, but you always have a choice here. I don't even think death is. We don't even have to do that until we are ready and, God and us are in agreement about that. Like, it just, I don't think people get like how much we are loved and how much this is all for our benefit. Okay, forced conversion, which I've talked about ad nauseum, it never works. If you force someone to be like you, they're doing a thing out of fear. Anytime you do something out of fear, it's fight or flight. Eventually, you're going to decide to fight. So forced conversion is never a good thing. Jewish people are forced to make sacrifices to pagan gods, eat pork, and they're threatened with severe punishment for those who refuse. So again, everything that I read on the channel, there is a relation to what we're seeing today, and I'm reading it because I'm not the type of person, I can't help prep your camping gear and all that. I don't have that type of money, but I can help prep your mind and your spirit because I've been through a hell of a lot. And so I want to pass on some of these gems that I find when I'm reading, some of the things that have helped encourage me. So it's also about martyrdom. The book prominently features the story of Eleazar, an old scribe, and a mother with her 7 sons, who are tortured and executed for refusing to violate Jewish law. Maccabean resistance. The book also details the military efforts of Judas Maccabeus, you pick, to resist the Seleucid occupiers, even though it gives less emphasis to the military victories than to the faith and martyrdom of individuals. So the prime story is about persecution and how you deal with that, and how miracles can occur if you are faithful. It says some of the theological themes of the second book of Maccabees is religious martyrdom. The book portrays martyrdom not as suicide, but as a willing sacrifice of life for faith, with the hope of a future resurrection. We're going to talk about that. This is going to get woo in a minute. I'm going to give you a really good apology. I don't try to be in apologetics. Like, I think by nature, just that word is not a good thing. You shouldn't have to apologize for your faith. But reasoning is a better word, right? Always be prepared to have a reason. This is a really good reason why we should all pray for the dead. And I know I'll lose viewers, but just listen. Because if you run off and you don't even hear the point, you're proving how immature spiritually you really are. Okay, so it says, it is noted for strong emphasis on miracles and God's active role in the struggle, such as a vision of angels fighting against the Seleucid forces and the protection of the temple. That's amazing to me. I get goosebumps. Afterlife and resurrection. The book is one of the earliest to advocate for the belief in the resurrection of the dead. Prayers for the dead. It also includes the practice of praying for the dead. And who did it? The original Jewish folks. Let's pay attention, which became a controversial point during the Protestant Reformation and is a reason the book is not included in the canon for many Protestant denominations. They think they have the whole book. The fact that you have to take something out proves that you're hiding it, that there's reason for us to do it. They're showing who they are, who started the Protestant denominations, and what really is a black mass. What is this other one that's like a Protestant mass? It's called Novus Ordo. Isn't that New Order? New World Order, anyone? Nobody's paying attention, man. Novus Ordo, New Order, New World Order. That's the new mass. Pay attention. So why would, if the Protestants are godly and the Protestants are correct about pulling away from the Catholic Church, why did they take that book out? Why did they get rid of it? You don't hide something unless there's reason to hide it. Unless you're guilty. Or you're guilty unless something's on your conscience. So that's another. We're going to go to second book of Maccabees now. And it is, as I said earlier, 12:32 through 45 are the verses. So I told you a little bit about it. We're just going to step into the middle of a story here. Because again, this is a really good apologetics reasoning for the faith. I am so sick of seeing debate culture. Like, let me prove you wrong. Debates aren't nice. They're not kind. A lot of Kirk's debates weren't nice. They weren't kind. And we're not always called to be nice, but we are called to be honest. And we are called to be kind. It's okay to tell people what your opinion is, and maybe if they agree with you, they can be swayed. But to try and force things like that on people, it never ends well, and it usually comes to violence. Okay, so this is 2 Maccabees, verses 32, or 2 Maccabees 12. I'm sorry, I'm lacking sleep because of the dog situation. Verses 32 through 45. This is your apologetics reasoning, fellow Catholics or whoever. This is the apologetics reason right here in Scripture of why you should pray for the dead. So we're going to jump into the middle of this story. It says, and after Pentecost, they marched against the Gorgas, the foremost leader over Idumea. Gorgas, I thought that was just a Jersey housewife. And he went out with the 3,000 foot soldiers and 400 horsemen. And when they came together, it happened that a few of the Jews were overthrown and perished. In fact, a certain Dositheus, a horseman of Basanor, a strong man, took hold of Gorgas. And when he would have captured him alive, a certain horseman of the Thracians rushed upon him and cut off his arm. And so in this way, Gorgas escaped Maresa. But when those who were with Esdras had fought all day and were fatigued, Judas called upon the Lord, not the Judas that betrayed Christ. Judas called upon the Lord to be their helper and leader in the battle. Beginning in the language of the fathers and loudly extolling hymns, he praised the soldiers of Gorgas to take flight. Then Judas, having collected his army, went into the city Adullam. And when the 7th day came, they purified themselves according to the custom, and they kept the Sabbath in the same place. Now here we get, pay attention. And the following day Judas came with his own in order to take away the bodies of the fallen, and to place them in the sepulchres, the tombs of their fathers with their ancestors. But they found under the tunics of the slain some of the treasures of the idols that were near Jamnia, which were prohibited to Jews by the law. Idolatry. They had probably, Greek gods and whatnot. They had the pagan gods on their jewelry. And so he reasoned by finding these that this is why God allowed their army to be overthrown. But we're not done. We get to what he does for these people. Check this out. He feels this is the actual Christian attitude. Like, this is what we're supposed to do. So just watch what he does. And so they all blessed the just judgment of the Lord, who had made hidden things manifest, meaning he showed them why he let them win when they found the jewels of the idols on their necks. So then, turning themselves to prayer. Now remember, these are the guys that killed these other guys. There used to be rules of engagement, even for wartime, right? And you had to announce when you were coming, and you had to have the bugle, and the men would get together and just like football and hang out, like not hang out, fully, but it wasn't like it is today. Okay, so then turning themselves to prayers, the guys who won, they petitioned God that the offense which had been done would be delivered into oblivion. They prayed that the sins of their enemies would be blotted out. We're not done yet, though. And truly, the very strong Judas exhorted the people to keep themselves without sin, since they had seen with their own eyes what had happened because of the sins of those who were struck down. And calling an assembly, getting everybody together, he sent 12,000 drachmas of silver to Jerusalem to be offered for a sacrifice for the sins of the dead, thinking well and religiously about the resurrection. Watch, this is in parentheses. For if he had not hoped that those who had fallen would be resurrected, it would have seemed vain to pray for the dead, meaning useless. And because he considered that those who had fallen asleep with piety had great grace stored up for them. Therefore, it is a holy and beneficial thought to pray on behalf of those who have passed away, so that they may be released from sins. Wow, guys, you need to gently tell every Protestant that you know about this. You need to encourage every Protestant that you know to read the second book of Machabees, because it's right there. And the Word of God is telling us as well. Let me break this down for you and unpack it a little bit. I'm not a teacher. Women aren't supposed to teach, but here's the thing. I'm not a bishop. I'm not ordained. I'm none of those things. I am supposed to witness, and that's what I'm doing. Always take things back to who, your chosen experts, professionals, whatever. My disclaimers are always in the comment section, and it's in my About tab. So, having said that, what he's telling us here is that they had beat these guys into oblivion. They had killed some of them. And the Jews that they had killed, because they were Jews too, they wanted to put their bodies at rest. Even though they were fighting on the enemy's side, they wanted to, gather their natural brothers, their Jewish brothers, and take care of their bodies. And they found jewelry with idols on them of like the Greek gods and Zeus and all this type of thing. And they surmised that, oh my gosh, this is why we won, because they were not faithful. They weren't loyal to God, and we were, and this is why they were taken out. But then, this man, his faith is so strong that he knows that there will be a resurrection, because the resurrection was talked about in the Old Testament, that there would be a resurrection and a judgment and things of that nature. Ezekiel's dry bones, there's all these prophecies before Christ ever came. They talked about the resurrection. It's always been a Jewish future event, okay? So because his faith was so strong and he knows that there's going to be a resurrection, he knows that praying for the dead and offering oblations for them and atonement for the dead, he knows that that is not in vain, that it's not useless, because everybody will be resurrected and judged. So he asked God to blot out their sins. even though they were his enemies, even though they were not faithful as Jews, right? Even though they were not faithful, they still offered atonement and prayers for them, for their fallen, natural brothers. I wanted to read that to you because, again, I think these things that we can relate these things to our current situation with a lot that's happening. And I think we have a lot more in common than we have different. And I think we all have a common enemy. And so we need to stop allowing ourselves to be so divided. It's the same plan. It's always been divide and conquer, pick them off. If that don't work, deny to the end of time. And then you put your plan on the back burner and then they wait a few more years. But just look at Novus Ordo, New Order. That's the New Order Mass. Is it the New World Order Mass? And I'm just asking questions because I don't understand. And then you have, we're supposed to understand these documents coming from Rome or coming from Ukraine or coming from Russia that are in all these different languages that who knows what the English translators, if they're, every language has a nuance, that just by like gang speak and every generation has a new, version of slang that they use. So this confusion is because of these devices that are in between us. I've seen it happen. I've seen technology change texts that I've sent to people. I've seen it change my texts that I've been receiving. It's giving people like wrong answers about very basic medical information as far as ChatGPT goes. We have to be very careful. And it's my opinion right now today at this time with what I know today. I could change tomorrow or in a few minutes. But with what I know today, I am concerned that we're going to have to turn into Luddites, that we're going to have to put all the technology down. And by technology, I don't mean, we had the industrial era. That's technology too, right? Machinery, steel, aluminum, all that stuff is technology. I'm talking about the digital technology. Nothing is safe. They try to sell it to the younger generation as if they're safer. Nothing is safer without a hard copy. There's nothing safer than a hard copy. And if you have flood, well, if it's paper, it's going to get ruined. If you have fire and it's paper, it's going to get ruined. The only thing that will survive is the stone, is the granite. So if they get everybody off of the hard copies that we're already on and these digital, everything is less than, everything is a copy, everything is a forgery. We need to get back to living real life and being truly connected with each other and gathering in person. And I know it's hard because none of us trust each other. And I know God has a time that we are all supposed to be set apart from each other and allowing the Holy Spirit to work in us and change us, replacing our bad habits with good habits, with better habits, becoming more disciplined and self-motivated and not needing that to come from an outer source. Like all these things are good things to be working on yourself because it's not just for you. It's for your family, your household, your community, your coworkers. It all goes together. It all flows together. And so I wanted to read you that part of that. And now I'm going to go to a psalm. I want to read you guys a psalm. Maybe 2 psalms. We'll see. Oh, I know the other thing that I wanted. Yes, that law. I wonder if I could remember. I wonder if I could. Yes, I shared it. That's how I can find out what I wanted to show you guys. All right. Book of Psalms 119 and 120. And then I'm going to show you that law that America was founded on that nobody talks about. I didn't know it was a thing until I looked in the comment section. Comment sections are gold mines. They're veritable gold mines. Funny that that channel came out after I started talking about that a few years back. The comment section. 119 and 120, where are you? There we are. Okay. Is that the only one that I had today? The world. All right, the other thing, thank you for your patience, but it will be a blessing because it's something new at least. It's new information. Let me pull up YouTube. So fun news is that I will be changing the setup again. This is just temporary. It's always been temporary. but hopefully with a better camera, and that would be really cool. I'm going to go to my own posts and shares, and I'm going to go back to that video so I can find that. It's one of the top comments, and when you comment, it brings yours up first, so I should be able to see it. Why do the videos that I share end up being not publicly available? Why does that happen? I don't like how, like, manipulated my life seems to be from the outside. And it's not there. I'm not gonna, I'll just Google it. I'll find it. The new word, or was it the new world? I think it's called the new, hold on. No. Oh, please, I'm almost there. Thank you guys for your patience. I can't remember the numbers. Oh, it's gonna drive me mad. Usually I remember stuff like that just by looking at it. Show it to me. Not the Bill of Rights. That's not what it was. It was like the founding. It wasn't from the Constitution, which is weird, but... Hold on 1 second. Because I know that if I can find the number of it, you guys can use it and make your own shorter videos, and it will be helpful to you. I just want to see the... Oh my gosh. I hate legalese, you guys. It's terrible. All right, I'm going to have to look for it on my own time. I don't want to keep you for something that I'm still not sure exactly where it's at. We'll go over Psalm 119 real quick. It's on my phone, but I know I'm going to have to turn it off to get it. All right, so this is Psalm 119/120, depending on what Bible you're reading. A canticle in steps. When troubled, I cried out. Now, a canticle is like something you're supposed to like turn into a hymn. You sing it, as far as I understand right now. It says, a canticle in steps. When troubled, I cried out to the... Somebody should have told me to put my hoodie up when I was reading from Machabees. A canticle in steps. When troubled, I cried out to the Lord, and he heard me. O Lord, free my soul from my lips of iniquity and from the deceitful tongue. What will be given to you, or what will be added to you for a deceitful tongue? The sharp arrows of the powerful, along with the burning coals of desolation. Woe to me, for my sojourning has been prolonged. I have lived with the inhabitants of Kedar. My soul has long been a sojourner. With those who hated peace, I was peaceful. When I spoke to them, they fought against me without cause. And then now you answer that with, I have lifted up my eyes to the mountains. From thence help will come to me. My help is from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. May he not allow your foot to be moved, and may he not slumber who guards you. Behold, he who guards Israel will neither sleep nor slumber. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your protection above your right hand. The sun will not burn you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord guard you from all evil. May the Lord guard your soul. May the Lord guard your entrance and your exit from this time forward and even forever. I wanted to read you something that was encouraging for the rest of your day, and that you know, to speak life over you, to speak good things. Now, for anyone that doesn't know, if you're reading Psalms alone, how do you accept, that looks so goofy. How do you accept and receive the promises? Well, you change the way you read it. And don't do this when you're, like, if you practice liturgy of the hours or you're praying with other people, don't do this. But if you're praying yourself and you want to pray the Psalms, to accept and receive the promises and the blessings that are in them, you have to change the pronouns. You have to change the pronouns. So for example, I just read to you Psalm 120. It's a canticle in steps. So it goes from like 19 to 20. It's like progressive. So it says, I have lifted up my eyes to the mountains, from thence help will come. My help is from the Lord who made heaven and earth. And then it's a prayer for you. May he not allow your foot to be moved. But if you're saying this yourself and you want these promises yourself, right? Alone. Oh my gosh, it's 12 o'clock hour. And you're praying alone, you would change it. For example, you would say, my help is from the Lord who has made heaven and earth. That's the same. May he not allow your foot? No, if you're praying it alone and you want the promises and you want to be covered under those protections, you would change it to I. You would change all the U's to I. So you would, and don't do this in a group, and don't do this for the liturgy of the hours. It's only when you're when you want to pray the Psalms. So you say, may he not allow my foot to be moved, and may he not slumber who guards me instead of you. Behold, he who guards Israel will neither sleep nor slumber, stays the same. The Lord is my keeper instead of your, right? The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your protection above your right hand. If you're saying that alone, especially if you're going through it, the Lord is my keeper. The Lord is my protection above my right hand. So in that way, you're speaking God's word above yourself in your own life, and or your family or what have you. So that is another aspect of spiritual warfare. That's what you would do in spiritual warfare. I'm going to bounce now so I can actually pray. And no, I don't think it's a big burden. But what I might do, hang on, I might go live again, like right after this, once I go grab that link, because that's really important that people see that and understand it. It's not because I want everybody to believe in God, right? And it's not like you're a slave, because I lived rebellious. I lived that way, and I found that the stuff that I read in the Bible, even if you didn't believe them, they are good tenets to live by. Our forefathers thought so, and our society is built upon them. If we keep allowing our society to be tore apart brick by brick by brick, our culture will be gone. It's already, like, America doesn't really have a culture. It's a melting pot, right? And some people might not care, but I care about us as, living in harmony. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go pray, and I might start again and find that law. So you guys actually have like numbers and a reference link to pull it up. So have a blessed day. Thank you for sharing your time with me. Please pray for me as I do pray for you. I'm going to go pray with the church now and for the church and for all of you. So you guys have a blessed day. Please pray that I have patience today, because the dog situation is driving me out of my mind. Bonkers. You're driving me bonkers. Okay. I love you guys. Have a blessed day. We'll talk soon.